Joel Corry, CBS Sports, wrote about the Micah negotiation. And this is interesting because he tells a couple of stories in here and gives some different kind of insights because I'm sure, as many of you know, Joel Corry is a former agent himself, and he became a writer, and he publishes stories at CBS Sports. Usually whenever there's a big holdout going on, he can almost pinpoint what's fair for the exact dollar amount and, give you tons of comps to what has happened in the past. And it's really some great storytelling in here. So if you don't mind, I'll just read you some of Joel's words that I found to be most interesting. And he jumps in talking about how Jerry Jones has had a reputation for trying to work around agents for a long time. Says the firm that I worked for represented Jimmy Smith, who ended up being a wide receiver, notably with the Jags.
Yeah, second-round pick, and then, he matter of fact, went to Philadelphia was on their practice squad.
Late bloomer.
Yeah, and then ended up in Jacksonville. Had appendicitis, and that hurt him, with his time with the Cowboys. Never kind of came back from that, and they just kind of moved on from him.
Appendicitis can be a real problem if you don't get in there and get it operated on.
Yeah. No question. He was actually with Sean and RJ maybe last week or the week before, and he mentions it. This is fascinating.
Yes. Okay. So. Says the firm he worked for represented Smith. The expectation was Smith to be taken in the latter part of the first round of the 92 draft. He was considered the third best wide receiver. Jones called Smith while the Cowboys were on the clock to tell him he was going to be taken 36th overall, but only if he agreed to a contract before the pick was made.
Yeah.
Smith, who was already feeling some anxiety because NFL teams were waiting to draft wide receivers, agreed to Jones below market terms. The rookie wage scale was not yet in existence. The Cowboys drew criticism from agents and other teams for using the tactic with several of their 92 draftees because it violated conventional draft protocol. The bosses were livid after Smith told them what had happened and said if Smith had been allowed to consult with us before making the decision, he would have been instructed to call Jones on the bluff. So then the senior agents at the firm called Jones to let him know the verbal agreement was not binding and any negotiation would be with them. A deal appropriate for Smith's draft position was subsequently negotiated after that. So this is 33 years later. And, Jerry didn't feel like he had a deal with Jimmy. He had a deal on the phone with Jimmy Smith, and the agents told him, no, that's not how this is going to happen. And because of the Cowboys' tactics, all future draft-eligible clients that they signed were given instructions on how to handle a situation if Jerry Jones called you, as their pick was approaching.
Who was our defensive tackle that got taken first overall by the Cowboys?
Russell Maryland?
Yeah.
Did that with Maryland?
Maryland became the first overall pick in the draft because he agreed to a deal.
Oh, he was willing to take less? That's kind of how baseball works now.
He pre-agreed to a contract, and then Jones made him the first overall pick.
Okay, so that's Joel's side of the story, kind of shame on Jerry Jones a little bit. I think it is definitely an ethical gray area, but billionaire businessmen are used to operating on that sort of thin ice. And then he talks about Parsons, who says bears some responsibility for his current predicament. In Parsons' statement publicly announcing his recent trade request, he acknowledged he had engaged in back-and-forth conversation with Jones and no longer wanted to be bound to closed-door negotiations without his agent being present. He says Parsons would have been better served by taking a page from wide receiver Dez Bryant. In a January 24 appearance on The Pivot, Bryant recalled ending Jones' attempt to negotiate directly by asking Jones if he could cover him on the football field. Jones admitted it would be a disaster. Bryant then compared Jones trying to stop him in a football game to negotiating his own deal against Jones. So, then Corry concludes that Jerry's engaging with players because he knows he has a huge advantage from a business standpoint in that type of dialogue.
I just kind of feel like that Micah Parsons, though, welcomed the challenge. He enjoyed the Shark Tank.
Yeah, and that's what Corey's saying.
Yeah, he enjoyed the fact that, okay, I'm going toe-to-toe with a man who's one of the most powerful guys in professional sports.
Yes.
And I think he probably took it a step or two too far. I think that's really why Jerry's mad right now.
Yeah.
He's like, listen, you wanted to take the opportunity to step in the arena with me.
Yeah.
And I gave you a taste what it's like.
Yes.
And now you're like you were talking all bold and you wanted to do this and Jerry, and then all of a sudden you don't want to do this anymore. Now how's this transpiring? And I think that's why Jerry is mad as he is. I think he's just mad at Micah because Micah took that opportunity and it kind of brought Jerry back to like maybe some of the old days of how he used to negotiate. And if Micah if we find out that Micah went back like a second time and asked for more things, now you're kind of like going, wait a minute, Micah's engaging in this thing.
Yeah.
There's some talk that maybe Micah went back afterwards and was like, what about this? What about this?
Yeah.
We can't get that proven yet, but if that part does come out, then Jerry has a right to be upset because Micah was engaging in dialogue about his contract.
Yeah. I think the smartest thing Corry said in there is just as a player, you shouldn't fancy yourself, capable.
Sure.
And if you want to jump in that, don't be surprised. I think, maybe some Tolos get annoyed if I make a poker reference here and there, but it's like being in a poker game and thinking, wow, the pros over there, I'd love to play at the pros table.
Sure.
And then you get there and you play a couple hands with them and you're like, get me out of this pro table quickly so I can start accumulating chips. That happened to me one time in an event I was playing in. Phil Hellmuth was on the other side, and the next thing I know, he sat next to me. I played two hands with him, and I said, I'm not playing another hand that he's in.
Yeah.
And he was playing every hand because he's a pro and we're chumps, and he's just like mixing it up and reading us perfectly and making plays, and I just felt handcuffed. Like, I don't know up from down right now. If I could just please excuse myself from this portion of the tournament, I sure would appreciate it. It's probably how Micah felt.
Dang, dude. So you could feel it.
Oh, yeah.
You could feel it.
Yeah,
with,
you can
Phil.
feel when you're over your head for sure. And if you're paying any kind of attention, it should become obvious within 30 minutes or so. Jaden Blue, unlikely to play still Saturday.
The heel.
The bruised ankle / heel kept him out of yesterday's practice. The coaching staff believed to be extra cautious right now, right? This isn't something that anytime you're dealing with a bruise or a foot, I know it can be sensitive, but he, along with Miles Sanders, both missed. So I think we'll see more Phil Maffa, more Malik Davis.
Yep,
more
Maffa time.
I think I'm most excited right now about Maffa because of his ability to pass protect, and he's got some juice to him in that power.
Let's see if he continues on the route of being a full-time running back that does all the things, the catching, the blocking, and the running. And the Ravens will probably come after you pretty good a little bit in this one, and you're going to have an opportunity to deal with some big-bodied linebackers to pick up on.